Yo, what's going on guys? It's Tori, and in this video I'm going to be going over what I think each Portland Trail Blazers NBA 2K20 rating should be. I'll give my thoughts and reasoning for deciding each player's rating, and that'll be this video. But before we get into it, I am doing an NBA 2K20 giveaway. I'm doing this for people who donate to me on Patreon. If you donate $1 a month to me on Patreon, you'll get one giveaway ticket for 2K20. If you donate $5 a month, you'll get 2 tickets. $10 a month gets you 3 tickets and the opportunity to guest with me on live streams. And if you donate $25 a month or more, you'll get 4 raffle tickets and you'll get top priority for guesting on some of my upcoming podcasts and live streams. I only have a few Patreon donors, so even donating $1 would give you a legitimate chance to win NBA 2K20, which is a $60 game. I'll be doing that drawing live on September 1st, so before you forget, pause this video, there's a link in the description below for my Patreon, leave your donation and get a chance to win NBA 2K20. With that being said, let's jump into what I believe each player on the Portland Trail Blazers should be rated in this upcoming 2K20 game. We're gonna start at the very top, and that's with Damian Lillard, whose rating has already been announced, and it's been announced at a 92. Now, I believe Damian Lillard should at least be a 93 overall. What I think 2K really fails to capture is leadership. Damian Lillard is a great player in part because of the leadership he brings to the court, the culture that he sets, and his leadership and culture setting helps Portland win a lot of games, but that's not really reflected in his rating in my opinion. Based off his pure production, he's a 92 overall, but in terms of the intangibles, the things off the court, his leadership, that type of thing, I believe that makes him a 93 overall, maybe even a 94. But then again, 2K doesn't really take that type of stuff into account all that much, and it's pretty much purely based off production, so I can't say I argue with his rating too much. The next guy is CJ McCollum, who I believe should be rated an 86 overall. Now, this is probably what he's going to be rated. If he's rated any lower, it's going to be very frustrating for me, because Kyle Kuzma got announced as an 84 overall today. We're already seeing bias towards the Los Angeles Lakers with Kuzma getting that rating. CJ McCollum at least needs to be 2 overall points above him, if not 3. Now, CJ struggled to start last season, but during the second half of the season, he really picked it up and was very efficient. He ended up winning Portland that Game 7 in Denver, and he's one of the most lethal scorers in the league. He also improved his defense last year. Advanced metrics painted him as a better defender. I thought based on the eye test, he was a little bit better of a defender. We'll see if 2K reflects that. I feel like they don't pay enough attention to detail, and therefore CJ McCollum's defensive ratings aren't going to be raised because of that, but as long as he's an 86 overall or an 87, I'm happy. Third is Jusuf Nurkic, and this is after he returns from injury. I think he should also be rated an 86 overall. Last year, I was consistently making the case that Jusuf Nurkic was Portland's second best player. Of course, Nurkic got hurt and CJ McCollum picked up his production, but I still think Nurkic is just as good of a basketball player as CJ McCollum. When you look at what he does defensively, when you look at his passing, when you look at his rebounding numbers, and when you look at his inside scoring, he has the total package for an NBA center. The only thing he doesn't have is a 3-point jump shot. Advanced stats painted him as one of the best centers in the league. His real plus minus, his box plus minus, all those advanced stats said he was a very important part of our team and a very productive player. There was really no flaws in his game last season whatsoever. When looking at what some other centers will be rated, like Nikola Vucevic, I definitely think Jusuf Nurkic deserves at least an 86 overall. The fourth player is the guy that's going to be the stopgap for Jusuf Nurkic. That is Hassan Whiteside. I believe Whiteside should be an 83 overall. Now, his production last season would show him to be maybe an 80, 81 overall, but I think that his production last year was a little bit of a fluke, getting yanked around. I believe he'll be a more important part of the Portland Trail Blazers this season than he was last season for the Miami Heat. He's still a very good defender, and I think playing in the pick and roll with Damian Lillard will help his offensive production. I believe he'll kind of get back to the same Hassan Whiteside that we saw in 2016 around that time. Therefore, I believe he should be an 83 overall, but I could understand if they rated him an 80 or an 81. I believe believe that that could easily rise throughout the season. Fifth player, we have Rodney Hood, and honestly, it's very difficult to figure out what Rodney Hood's rating should be, because this is a guy who struggled before he got to Portland and still wasn't all that great, but then during the playoffs, he absolutely burst out with a very productive round 2 series. He was even very solid in the Western Conference Finals against the Golden State Warriors, and during that time frame, he was looking like the Rodney Hood that we saw in Utah, the Rodney Hood that was regularly rated between a 78 and an 81 overall. Now, it's difficult to rate him because he did have that year-long slump, and when rating him, it's either that year-long slump was a fluke or that was more who he is as a player. I'm leaning towards it being more of a fluke because he looked a lot more confident in Portland than he had been during that year, and as we know, confidence is huge for a basketball player. He got that comfort level back and he was producing at a very high level. He was also a much better defender than I imagined, and a much better defender than I think 2K gives him credit for. I wouldn't say he was a great defender by any means, but I wouldn't say he's bad either. Based off all that, that's why I rate Rodney Hood a 79 overall in 2K. Next player is Zach Collins, and he's another difficult guy to figure out. I think he was a very solid player last year. He had above average efficiency for an NBA player with a 57 true shooting percentage, and he was a good defender. He can knock down threes a little bit, can finish inside. I think he was at least your average NBA big man last year, and assuming that he's going to have a third-year jump like many players do, I'm rating Zach Collins a 77 overall. Now, I do think this definitely has the chance to rise throughout the season, as Zach Collins will likely get the opportunity to start at power forward, but I think 77 is a good baseline for a player like him, who's still young, still has something left to prove, but had a very productive year 2 in his NBA career. Next player we have is Kent Bazemore, and I was between a 75 and a 76 with him, but I do think his production will be a little bit better in Portland when he can play off the ball a little bit more and play off guys like Dame and CJ, Anfernee Simons if he ends up playing well. I think Bazemore's shot quality will only go up. He'll be able to focus a little bit more on the defensive end, and his production will improve because of it. He was dealing with some sort of injury last year. I think it had something to do with his hand. I should have researched that before I recorded this video, but I've read some things that said that his 32% three-point clip was partially affected by that injury, so I expect that to rise back to around 35-36% as well. And given that he's a good guy to have in the locker room and a good defender, I think a 76 overall rating is definitely justified. Next, we have Anfernee Simons, and I rate him a 74 because of what I expect him to be going into this season. But Simons is a guy who, at the end of the year, could be a 79, 80 overall or a 72 overall. He's a wild card. But given what he did in Summer League, given the reports coming out of Portland on how excited we are for him as an organization, given his pure talent, I think a 74 overall is a good starting point for him. Usually you don't see players like him who have really done nothing in their NBA career get above a 73 or 74 overall, so that's why I wouldn't have him higher, but I think that given what I've seen from him so far in his young NBA career, I think he could easily produce at the rate of a 76, 77 overall player. And then after Anfernee Simons, it's Pau Gasol. He also has a 74 overall rating, and he's a guy who's declining, so this is a little lower than he was rated last year. I believe he was rated a 78 overall at season's end. I do expect him to decline a bit, but I still think he's a guy that you can throw in there in spot minutes, and he's not going to hurt the team. He can shoot threes, he can pass, he can rebound, he can defend a little bit, and he's a smart player. I think 74 overall is a good spot for him. That might be selling him a little bit short. I definitely wouldn't rate him lower than a 74, but I'm just going to be on the safe side, and I think Pau Gasol should be a 74 overall. Next is Skal Labissiere, who has been an enigma so far in his career. He had a very good rookie season, but only declined since then, but he was also in Sacramento. We know this dude has talent, he just has to prove it yet again, because that rookie season at this point, if you just look at the stats, it looks like a bit of a fluke. But given what I see from him on a talent standpoint, I don't think his rookie season was a fluke whatsoever. I believe he has that level of talent where he can knock down threes at a 36, 37% clip, where he can rebound at a solid clip, where he can defend, where he can knock down a variety of different types of shots. I mean, we saw in that last game of the regular season, he hit a contested step back three. This dude has a good feel for the game, and I think he has the talent where if he puts it all together, he could end up being a 78, maybe even a 79 overall player. But given what he's shown the past couple of seasons, reasons, I can't justify putting him any higher than a 73 overall. Hopefully he raises that throughout the season. 11th guy on this list, we have Anfernee Tolliver, who I also have as a 73, and that's frankly because he's a very solid three-point shooter. He doesn't provide much outside of that, but he does have a good NBA skill, and he's not a terrible defender. He seems like your fringe rotation player, and a 73 overall is about what that is. Now next I have Hezonja, who if you guys have paid attention to my videos lately, you know I'm not super high on, but also in those videos I haven't said that he's not going to break out. I've just said I don't like relying on him breaking out. I have him as a 72 overall because last year for the New York Knicks, he was a flat out awful player. Now he will have the chance to raise this as the season goes along, but this rating is based off his NBA career so far and what he showed us last season for the New York Knicks. 13th player we have is Trent Jr. He's a 71 overall, and we know this dude can score the ball, we know he can shoot, but he hasn't really had the chance to do so consistently on the NBA level, and I still have questions about just how good of a three-point shooter he is. I think he might be a little bit more streaky than good. I still don't know if his defense is solid at an NBA level, and he does seem to be a little bit of a black hole, but he's just one of those second-year players that hasn't got a chance to prove anything and doesn't have Anfernee Simons level of hype going into the season, so that's why I have him as a 71 overall. And then last player, we have the rookie, we have Nassir Little, and I have him as a 70 overall. I think that he has a lot of potential, but I think he's a little bit more of a raw prospect at this point. I almost put him at a 69 overall, but given his pedigree coming out of high school and then coming out of college, I think a 70 overall is justified. I don't think he'll get a chance to play much this year, so I don't think he'll really have a chance to raise that at all. With him, it's just that long-term potential. So anyway, that is what I think each Blazer should be rated in 2K. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know what you think each Blazer should be rated down in the comment section below. With this list, I tried to be as unbiased as possible, which is hard, and because I tried to be as unbiased as possible, I do expect some of you guys to disagree with me and think I rated some of your Blazers too low, so let me know what you think. Once 2K ratings come out, I'll make a follow-up video talking about their rankings, talking about what I thought their ratings should be and what they actually are, but we'll have to wait a couple of weeks for that to drop. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Tori. I'll see you later. Peace out. Go Blazers.